Now we want to bring in national political reporter for Politico, Gabe Debenedetti. Gabe, lots to talk about today. Let us start with what you make of the president's tweet this morning in which he essentially threatened James Comey about possible tapes of their conversation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in D.C. are still reeling, which is something that we say a lot these days, but especially this morning after this tweet, a lot of people really don't know what to make of it. Is the president saying that there are tapes in the White House? Are his conversations being recorded? But basically, yeah, it is being widely read as a threat to James Comey because the president clearly perceives that Comey or his close allies have been leaking to the press about what their conversations have been like. We don't really know where this goes from here, but you can bet that Democrats in particular are on the Hill, and maybe, just maybe, some Republicans will start to be asking some much more serious questions pretty soon about what these conversations were.
So, Gabe, the president also took to Twitter to defend the differing stories from White House officials about why Comey was fired, saying perfect accuracy from surrogates isn't possible, and that maybe all future House press briefings should be canceled. What's your reaction to those comments? He also went on to say that maybe they could be in written statements, which, of course, we were talking to Margaret Brennan a short time ago, who said even the written statement that came out was inaccurate. Right. What do we do here?
Yeah, well, one thing that we do know is that the president does love to try and mess with reporters a little bit on this kind of front, on these kinds of things. He does try to make reporters angry and say that he's going to cut off access. But what's pretty remarkable is the actual substance of what he's saying, which is that you can't necessarily trust what his aides are saying because it's very difficult to keep a straight story. The substance here, of course, is that this White House's story was that the president decided to fire Comey. It was something that he had been discussing for a long time, thinking about for a long time, but he only pulled the trigger once he got the recommendation letter from the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. But then again, in his interview yesterday with NBC, the president said, actually, you know, I was thinking about Russia when I did it. Those are pretty different stories, and the very fact that the president publicly said that he was thinking about the Russia investigation when he got rid of Comey was something that a lot of Republicans, but a lot of people in the White House really were not expecting him to say.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it goes a step further, Gabe, because it's one thing for, you know, a spokesman or a surrogate to get the information wrong, but the vice president also delivered the same inaccurate message, different than what the president delivered in that interview. I mean, what do you make of that? Are we looking at incompetence? Are we looking at a deliberate attempt to mislead?
I don't think we should read too much into this in the way of strategy. I think what a lot of folks who are in and around the White House have been saying is that the president is increasingly isolated these days, and he's not necessarily relying on people like the vice president to make these decisions with him. He's really just making these decisions on his own. And so the idea that there's some broad strategy behind the rollout of this Comey firing and the subsequent days really just has not proven to be correct. As we know, a lot of the folks, even in the White House communications office, who have been tasked with really getting President Trump's message across, were blindsided by this, and they didn't know what they should be saying, how they should be spinning this to reporters who called them saying, really, what the heck is going on here? So we have the president driving his own message in a way that no one else can, largely because a lot of other people apparently have not been talking to him about this.
You know, Gabe, we've seen reports that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein pressed the White House to clarify statements suggesting that his critical letter about Comey justified the firing. What are Rosenstein's options moving forward? Because we also heard he was upset that this could possibly be the reason.
Pinned on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation for him because obviously he's the Deputy Attorney General under Jeff Sessions, and you know he's been a well-respected figure for a very long time, but he obviously, having seen what happened to Comey and what has happened to other people, is going to be careful not to step too far out of line, politically speaking. In terms of what his options are, I think what you might see is him having a lot more conversations with people investigating what's going on the Hill. He was up there yesterday, and there are a lot of senators and some House members who are very, very interested in what he has to say, and you know what his involvement has really been with these Russia investigations, because as you say, he tried to go out of his way over the last few hours, the last 24 hours or so, to try and clarify that he was not part of this operation that's being perceived as overly political in getting rid of Comey. So he's an independent voice that we should be watching closely. What remains to be seen is how much freedom he will actually have to say what he wants to say.
Yeah, indeed. Politico's Gabe Debenedetti. Thank you so much, Gabe.
Thank you.